Welcome, everyone, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement and we like to give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a game, and that game is Marvel Rivals. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Strio.
How's it going, Gooch? We excited?
I'm excited to talk about Marvel Rivals. I have a little bit of the Sunday scaries, like we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely,
coming off holiday break, I haven't really worked a legit day in like 2 weeks. I'm like, oh no, I gotta go back to work.
It's true, man. Oh my god, we do have the winter storm possibly tomorrow though, so maybe we'll be home at the very least.
I'm working
home
from home
anyways,
tomorrow. Anyway,
lucky you.
So.
Yeah.
So let me introduce our guest, our third panelist of this podcast, Ben Smith. You may know him from his podcast, The Handsome Phantom, or one of the talking heads from Last Stand Media. He's also the producer of Lily Mo Games, and probably one of the most interesting things about Ben. And I'm interested to hear if he agrees or if there's anything more interesting for people who don't know him. He is the former mayor of Butler, Pennsylvania. Yes, that Butler, Pennsylvania. Ben, welcome to DNN, man. Thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't know if that's the most interesting thing about me. It's definitely an interesting thing, I guess, but I don't know. Sometimes I want to go back and pull out, did you know in 2006 I did this? But I don't really know what that would be. I used to teach ballroom dancing. That's one of those things I pull out.
That's interesting.
I had to take a ballroom dancing
I feel like
class.
if you're sitting, especially, it's even more relevant for us because we're in Pennsylvania also.
Yeah.
So it's cool. But if you're sitting there at the table, it's I used to be a mayor, right?
I think you're the first mayor we've had on the podcast. So that's
probably
that's
the first and only.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. No.
Yeah. That's a pretty common thread. Anytime I'm on a podcast, it's usually the first mayor they've had on a video game podcast. Yeah, that's pretty common.
You had a lot of those awards in your room, right? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but I did.
Exactly. City everywhere here.
Yeah. I did have a little bit of an icebreaker. We are talking about a Marvel game, but I don't, sure. I listen to you a ton on LSM and Handsome Phantom. I don't know if I've ever heard you really talk at length about Marvel, in general. So my question to you is, what kind of Marvel fan are you? Did you grow up reading comics? Do you read comics now? MCU? Where does it end and begin with you?
So I definitely grew up interested in the comics. And of course, all the Saturday morning cartoons and everything when you had the old animated series and everything. But as a pretty young kid, I remember getting into comics. My mom was into comics when she was a kid, different kinds of comics and everything. And I probably, even though I liked Marvel, I probably started out more with DC comics just because that's what she was kind of into. And I kind of got associated with that. And then through the years, I just was a fan. And I remember one of the defining moments. I remember I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. Now I graduated high school in 2006. I think you guys were 4 years old. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I was 11 in 2006. I was in
okay
6th or 7th grade.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was in probably 7th or 8th grade, I remember I had an Iron Man backpack, and I remember I was friends with everybody. I was not, I was well liked, but people still made fun of each other. And I remember people being like, "You got a superhero backpack,
Iron Man,
yeah, lame." And I remember, and I remember one of the main guys who used to make fun of me for it, and we were kind of friends, but at the same time, he would make fun of me for my backpack. I remember when in 2008, finally, when the first Iron Man movie came out, the first Marvel Studios movie came out, and I was there, man. Yeah. I was in the comic book store, for years ahead of that. I would go and play games and get comics and everything. And I remember that being the moment for us actual comic fans from the back. And I remember some of those guys who were making fun of me being in the line to see Iron Man for hours. And I walked in and I knew the guy who ran the theater or one of the managers there. And they were just come on in. And they just let me in front of this giant line. And I saw him in the front of the line and I just kind of winked at him. All those years later, I was you used to make fun of me for this. And you've been waiting here for 6 hours and I'm just walking right in front of you. So, yeah, but I like the MCU. I kind of did fall off a little bit, probably, I don't know. I want to say after WandaVision, up until that
Sure.
point, I had seen
a good-
everything.
that's a good
all the
fall
movies,
off
gone to all
point.
the midnight releases.
Yeah.
I've caught up a little bit here and there, but yeah, I don't know. I've just always loved superheroes in general. Even a bad superhero movie is a good movie to me. Not that it's actually a good movie, but I'm going to like it. So yeah,
Sure.
I've been a comic fan for a long time. Yeah.
That's really cool too, because like I feel like Iron Man, especially. I mean, I feel like some people maybe like to forget he was obviously pretty maybe C tier, would you say, back in the day, especially before the movies. Like I don't know if people were like he was the biggest
who was like yeah,
it's
Iron Man.
Like
Right,
and then after that, I mean, now he's definitely like an A-lister and like he's become so popular. But no, that's really cool, especially hearing that like you found interest from it from your mom too. I could never imagine my mom handing me a comic book, to be completely honest. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah,
and comics
I don't know
more
if
popular.
My mom
when we were
actually
younger.
like. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably really weren't popular when I was younger either, but I don't know if my mom ever like handed me a comic book, but she definitely encouraged it,
Right. Yeah. That's very cool. But all right, yeah. I guess let's get into the game. Unless Gooch, did we want to go around the horn on that one, or was that?
No, I mean, if you listen to our podcast,
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say honestly,
we do review a lot of Marvel content.
It's true, and I feel like the MCU was honestly probably one of the major, instigators for us to kind of start a podcast. Like we really enjoyed watching it. We grew up watching that stuff, so yeah, definitely one of the main tenets of what we do here, even though it's fallen off somewhat. But yeah, Marvel Rivals, man. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, God, it was so Marvel Rivals. Where do you even start? I mean, first of all, the launch was probably one of the smoothest things I've ever seen from a multiplayer game of, I guess, what its stature of what it ended up being. I mean, I didn't play Helldivers at launch, so I can't like compare it.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure there were a lot of issues with Helldivers, like at the start. Or the first few weeks, there were server issues. I know it was like a year ago.
Right, yeah. Ben, did you remember if they had any like real technical issues?
Yeah, the first week of Helldivers 2 was pretty smooth because I played day one and it was okay. But then once it blew up, like once the game went crazy, then there were like hour-long or longer queues.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of multiplayer games that just have terrible launches, and now to see Marvel Rivals come out and just work out the gate was incredible.
Right. Get into queue times that are like a second, barely have to wait, no issues solo with people. I mean, before we even get into the gameplay, like the fact that I could play the game at launch and have no issues was like almost like a miracle.
Right.
Like I was just so surprised, especially from NetEase games, and I get they have the Tencent backing and they kind of have the money, but like they've never launched a game like this, so they don't really have that experience.
Right.
So it's kind of easy to expect this is going to be a shit show. But I didn't really have any expectations. Like I wasn't thinking about it, but and then I'm like, we're in like 2-3 games, and it's like, oh, this is working flawlessly. We're getting in games in a millisecond. Like it's hard to beat that, and then. When a game launches and like I haven't played a lot of multiplayer games in a while, but like, a lot of World of Warcraft expansions come out and it's a shit show for the first few hours. And that's what people remember. Right. They remember, not that it's good, whether it is or not. It's, I couldn't play. You don't want that to be the first taste in people's mouth.
Did either of you guys get in on any of like, they had play tests for this, right? Too, like a good amount of like betas and stuff like that for a while. Did any of you guys get
I was
in on any of that?
the closed beta. Yeah, I was in the closed beta for sure. I think it was a closed beta because my buddies couldn't get in and play with me.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I did play, and it ran pretty smoothly then too. I can't remember any complaints about it. I had a good time in that too.
Oh, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So were there a lot of like noticeable changes from that beta period, would you say? Or I assume there were only like a certain amount of characters and things like that?
I want to say that the bulk of the characters were in the game during the betas. There were maybe 3 or 4 that were added after that, which doesn't seem like that many, but when you consider that you have like 33 heroes at launch and they're all free or everything. So I don't think there were a lot of changes. I'm sure they did some balancing and they did everything, but I think it was really more of a network test than anything, if I had to guess. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think I played Overwatch here at beta, but Marvel Rivals roster list is insanely big. I mean, you have your heavy hitters like Iron Man and Cap, but then you have like Jeff and Cloak and Dagger. Like, people, I wouldn't expect people to know, and I feel like it's a nice list of like A to C and D
Even just some
listers, and
Zs.
almost I
Yeah.
think to a negative. There's almost too many characters to kind of play. It's like very overwhelming. I feel like if you would jump into a game like Rainbow Six Siege or Overwatch at this point, it's like, where do I even fucking start? Like, who are all these people? At least with like a smaller cast of people, it's kind of like you go in and you're like, oh, okay, there's 10 to, I don't know, 15 people, and it's like, it's double, and it's like, look at all the DPS. Where do I even fucking start?
Yeah, I think especially coming in for me as someone, I've never played a hero shooter, so this was my first one to really get into, which was interesting. Learning all the different skills and even the different like classes and everything, which I still don't even fully have a grasp on, was an interesting kind of play for me. But I don't know, did you guys? I feel like the whole memes around this game so far has been like, there's no healers and there's no this, and like, is that just kind of par for the course when it comes to these type of hero shooters?
Yeah, definitely. In my experience, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
especially with Overwatch, when you have the possibility of open queue, everybody wants to be DPS because DPS is the sexy one. Like, the supporters. First of all, the supporters in this game are great, but the supporters in most games are kind of not always fun to play.
Sure.
Like they probably are the most important role in the game, but they're not always the most fun or the most sexy to play. Whereas tanks, you got a lot of health and you do a lot of work, but you're not always, shooting and getting kills and everything. But DPS, you get to shoot. I get to play Call of Duty in this in this hero shooter, and I feel like that's more what people gravitate towards. But and this is one of the things we can talk about. But one of the great things about this game is that there may be some characters here and there that aren't as fun to play as others, but like all the supports have great damage as well. All the tanks have great damage as well. And the DPS, honestly, sometimes are less fun to play than those other roles because you don't get that instant satisfaction with, you play Luna Snow and she's healing and at the same time doing damage, and she does sometimes more massive damage than some of your DPS are doing. So they did a good job, I think, at making all the roles equally fun to play. Not all the characters, but all the roles.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there are some characters who are kind of like meh. I think like Ben, we were talking about the other night when we were playing, like Storm just seems to be like her ult's really powerful, but everything else about her seems to be pretty weak.
Okay.
Black Widow, I think, is like I was actually, it's funny, Ben, you were saying like you didn't like her, but I was like, I was enjoying her, but her ult sucks, and she's a sniper character, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what more? Right. Like, she doesn't really have all that much to begin with, so I feel like her ult needs to be either pretty powerful or have some sort of utility, sort of like Widowmaker's does. But getting back to that support thing, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like specifically the thing with Widowmaker, or I'm sorry, with Black Widow, the thing that makes her less appealing to me is that you have another character, Hawkeye, who essentially is the same type of character, but Hawkeye can one shot, and Widowmaker or Black Widow, man, this is gonna be a whole
they really did that on purpose.
Yeah, Black Widow cannot one shot people, and her ult sucks. So the fact that you have Hawkeye who can one shot people and his ult's amazing up against the sniper, it's like, why would I ever play Black Widow when I can play Hawkeye?
Right.
Yeah, I guess it's something you almost run into with such a large roster is making some heroes maybe redundant, almost like you're saying right now. Like, you just don't even need to use Black Widow because Hawkeye's filling that role so well.
Yeah.
And it is fun. It is interesting to hear you talk about support and then making it very, playable in this. And I did really find that as someone who's never played a hero shooter before. I liked playing, especially Cloak and Dagger, a lot. And I did find a lot of satisfaction in healing people, but also it did feel like I could defend myself and I wasn't just like there to heal. Like, I could actually do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the game, I'm going to try not to do this, but when I was first playing the game, it's constant, this is like Overwatch 2, this is like Overwatch 2, this is not like Overwatch 2, I'm just like constantly comparing the two games. But in Overwatch 2, in Overwatch in general, like, the support characters are like, they're not DPS, and like, if you're playing Mercy and you decide to whip out your pistol and start trying to fuck people up. It's like, what are you even doing?
Right.
But I think it's a blessing and a curse with Rivals. It's like, okay, Jeff and Cloak and Dagger and Loki and all of them can do like pretty good DPS. It kind of takes, if you, but your job is to heal, right? Your job is support. It kind of like makes you not play support. It's the fact that you can DPS and you can do it well, you know?
Right. And I could see how that would mess with your systems, and like you need your support to be support and not just be running around.
Well, it's not even like in the back end.
Time.
It's up to the player to do the job. Of course,
yeah.
It's not really the game's fault.
For sure. Yeah. But it still allows the player, to play a more damage centric role when they should be supporting.
Right.
And I could see how that would kind of screw with your roles. So did you guys have like any character that you feel like you're drawn to that you really kind of play with most, Ben?
I play with a few different ones pretty frequently. If I'm solo tanking, so I'm the only tank in the game, or on my team, I usually will go with Doctor Strange just because he is really good at protecting your backline with the shield, and he also can do a fair bit of damage as well. And then you've got the portal ability with Doctor Strange that can come in really clutch. At least once a round, you're going to be able to get some kind of interesting play. But if I'm also playing tank, I also like to play Thor or Captain America because they're more like dive tanks. They're honestly more of a mix of DPS and tank. They really are DPS characters, but they have a lot of health, so that makes them a tank. And I guess we're using tank as the words. What are they called? Vanguard, or I don't even remember the three different names.
The terminology is a bit weird. Vanguard is tank, strategist is support, and duelist is the DPS. It is a bit weird where Overwatch is just like tank, DPS, healer. I think. Or offense, defense.
I think they were doing that to differentiate themselves.
Yeah. Which is fine. I don't really mind.
So as someone who doesn't play a lot of hero shooters, this might sound like a basic and kind of stupid question, but the tank's job is to take damage for the most part, really.
Yeah,
it's to just kind of absorb shit and mitigate it and kill where they can. Obviously, your DPSs are to just do damage, and then you have your support there to heal. So that is interesting.
Yeah.
I remember my first game I was playing, I tried Venom, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just getting killed. I feel like I'm just getting the shit kicked out of me. And then I switched over.
Yeah, Venom has his base attack is range, which is pretty interesting.
And I thought that like it was interesting that like there was a lot of melee combat in this. Is that normal? Like
I would say no.
Okay.
I don't know if Ben agrees with that, but I would say no.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate, that it's not very common. I mean, you definitely have characters that have almost no melee abilities. I mean, in hero shooters, every character has at least some melee. If you look at Overwatch, everybody can punch, everybody can do a melee, but not everybody can get up close and actually beat you to death with something. I mean, I would say like Reinhardt's probably the best close quarters as far as the amount of damage they do, and that's just because he swings a giant hammer. But he has almost zero range other than his fire strike, which is does a lot of damage, but it takes a long time to get there. Whereas
and it's not your primary attack. Yeah.
Right. Whereas in and I think there's some exceptions to that, of course, but in Rivals, it is interesting because they have a strength, which is that they already have all these characters mapped out. They have their abilities. Now what they actually do in the game, they have to figure out, but if a character in the Marvel universe is somebody who is a sniper, let's just use that as an example. They're a sniper. Well, then their ability in Rivals has to be being a sniper. They're not going to be a punching character, right?
Right.
So they have that advantage, but it's also a disadvantage because you do have some characters, like Magic. Magic is one of those characters that she just swings her sword. She has very, very little damage outside of very close. So she's got to be, in the back line, up close. She has one sword swing that goes a little further, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is strange that there are so many, like Wolverine. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Even like I know Spider-Man can shoot his webs and stuff, but like it is so wild to see his gameplay.
Like Venom is like, Venom's a dive tank, but like he has ranged capabilities, but where like as Spider-Man, you would think, oh, maybe he has web shooters, and he does, but like he's primarily a
Like,
melee.
punching
Iron
up,
Fist
yeah.
being another one. Yeah, it is interesting that they decided to kind of pad the roster with a lot of melee focused people, which again, going back to something Ben said, like separates yourself from Overwatch,
Absolutely.
which is what this game is competing with and dominating
And
right
I mean,
now.
I think it's just so cool how faithfully like the characters are behaving to like their comic book counterpart for the most part. I mean, Spider-Man's like swinging around like Spider-Man. He's punching people like Spider-Man. You can crawl up the wall. You can really kind of like use him to finagle in ways that Spider-Man would actually, do that. And I it's just so cool to see them fit these characters so well into this. And I mean, it's a hero shooter. These are superheroes, so it kind of feels like it's like very obvious. But I don't know. I really was kind of blown away. And I don't know. I've seen some talk online, not a ton. And this is just more, I guess, a question for you guys that like maybe this wouldn't have done so well if it wasn't Marvel. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously. But like, I don't know. I do feel like there is some really good game design within it. Even as someone who, I don't know, maybe they're just aping everything off Overwatch, and I don't know that because I never played it. But I don't know. It just feels really well done. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll let Ben go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an aspect that this game wouldn't have done as well if it weren't Marvel. But of course, it wouldn't have done as well if it weren't Marvel. Like, if Blizzard hadn't made StarCraft, they wouldn't have had a fan base to get into Overwatch. Now, Overwatch had to be good on its own merit too. Don't get me wrong, but every developer who's been around, every property that's been around, has some advantage or disadvantage. And in this case, NetEase got the rights to Marvel to make a game, and they made a really good one. Now, whether it's, it definitely copied a lot of things from Overwatch, as does every game copies stuff from other games. And that's okay with me. There's nothing that seems to be explicit in the game. Like, I think that they definitely had a strong base there. But I do think, to your point, that this is it's so hard to separate. You can't actually separate it. But this game just feels good, even without those characters being something that we already know and something that has a base built on it. So honestly, like, if you said this is just some other random hero shooter and I had played it, I probably would still be enjoying it. But whether the same amount of people would have even tried it in the first place is, hard to know. It's impossible.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Ben and echo what he said and just say that, like, yeah, Marvel's getting you in the door. For
sure.
Right? I think a lot of us. And I was like, I was really scared when this game first came out. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go.
Or like was announced.
Is this going to be any good? I mean, Avengers put a lot of bad taste in people's mouth. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League put a lot of bad taste in people's mouth from the other side of the fence.
For sure.
Like, we just haven't really had a lot of good comic book games. A lot of people debate Spider-Man 2 wasn't that great.
Sure, yeah.
Whatever. We're not here to talk about that. But yeah, like, it was cool to see the way they decided to design the characters.
I was going to say that the character design is truly like another part of it that really does, I think, put it up on another echelon. I mean, look at how dumb and dull the Avengers game looks. Just your team of Avengers.
Yeah, that
like,
tweet
so
that
annoying.
like put them side by side with their skins, it's like, holy shit.
Right.
Like, it's hard to even take that seriously.
And then, I don't know, I'd guess to even rebuke myself. I feel like Marvel it's not as cool to like Marvel right now, for lack of a better term, in my opinion. I think they're kind of more easy. I think it's actually a bit harder for people to see Marvel at this moment and necessarily have like maybe a good, like, oh, maybe that will be good. I think that's actually maybe a bit more of a bar they have to hop over at this point. But I don't know, maybe the next Avengers movie will come out and people will come out in droves and I'm completely incorrect. But yeah, I mean,
they
I think
did,
it really
but
is.
Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't think is
True, yeah.
Like we were saying on our review of that, it's like, great, it was good, but like, we know we're not getting another Deadpool and Wolverine. That's not really what the MCU is.
Sure. And I think it just comes down to making a good thing, obviously. Like, if you make something good, people will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
one thing I wanted to talk about as we're talking about like the Marvel of it, like the obviously this is a free game, right? We didn't mention that, but it is free, and there are microtransactions, battle passes, you get to buy skins, but this skin potential is truly fucking limitless. Between doing your original stuff and pulling from comics and the movies, which I was surprised that the game launched with MCU skins. That kind of caught me off guard. I was like, I felt like that was like a later thing, but it's like, no, okay, here's some of the Guardians and Wolverine has his Deadpool and Wolverine skin, and there's Namor from Wakanda Forever. I was just like, wow, okay, we're already like, they're gonna get that Marvel fan who's like, oh shit, Endgame Iron Man, I'm in, right? I'm gonna buy that, and like they got it. They got the bag from that person. That's all they need, because that's the point.
Yeah, man. And as much as I hate microtransactions and freaking loot boxes and all this whatever, no, I guess these aren't loot boxes. You're just paying for skins. I guess if I'm not buying them that often and it's getting me a bunch of free content, I'm not necessarily gonna get that annoyed. But I don't know. How much is like one of the skins?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I want to say they're like $15 to $30, depending on what you're buying. Some of them come with
and
bundles and
there's also
everything.
bundles. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I guess you can just go through and
Battle
not
Pass
spend a
is
thing.
$5, by the way.
I bought the Battle Pass, so that felt worth it to me.
Too.
The 3 suits you get with it look pretty sweet. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that was just a nebulous point. Game Battle Passes, a double-edged sword. But
yeah,
I don't know,
I'm pretty. Sorry, we have a
no,
little.
please go
delay.
ahead. No,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
No, it's okay.
I'm also kind of not against microtransactions. I'm not someone who buys a lot of microtransactions. I'll probably usually buy the battle pass and not much more. But I will say that in a free to play game, for me personally, I understand if you have a different perspective, anybody, but I'm like, you know what? It's a free to play game. Put as much microtransactions in there as you want. And if the game's good enough and you survive because of that, great. If the game's not good enough and you don't survive because you have microtransactions and didn't charge for the game, then that's on you too. Like, I'm very much like you decide how your game's going to go. Now, if you put out a $60 game and then every skin costs $20, I'm like, I don't know about that overall.
Right.
But, that's a different story. But I think that the monetization, like, even though the skins and stuff are aggressive, if you think about it, it's third person, which first of all is a brilliant move to get people to pay more for a skin they're going to have to look at all the time. And most people, not everybody, definitely not me, but many people rock a single character all the time, and they're always going to main that character. Maybe they have one for each class or something. And if you think about it, like, oh, I didn't have to buy this game. If I buy a skin for a tank, a DPS, and a healer, a support, and I spend $15 on each of them, like I paid for the whole game, and that's all my hours are going to be on these 3 characters. So like, I understand people who think it's worth it to them. For me, I'm like, I'll buy the battle pass. I'm good with that. But on the free to play game, if you want to monetize it out the ass, have at it, man. Like, it didn't hurt me any because I don't have to buy it.
No, it's true.
Right. And nothing really feels super egregious. I was going to ask you that, and I guess you really just answered it. Like, none of it feels very predatory. And I feel like gamers are like up in arms by anything that even looks or feels like it's going to prey on your wallet.
Well, and I will say, especially if they are just skins and it's all aesthetic based things, I don't give a flying fuck. Yeah, like, put it out your skin. You can put out your $30 skin for all I care. I'm not going to buy it, and I'll move on. It's more when it starts affecting gameplay in some way. Like, I think Helldivers just put out like the Killzone one, and that comes with like a gun. And I'm like,
oh, really?
I'm pretty I think it does. And that, like, I don't know. That's where I start to feel a little different. But that's also a little different because that's not PvP, that's PvE, and
right.
That's giving you a leg up
against some AI.
Yeah,
right?
So I guess that is a bit different in that respect.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think that's totally fair points, and I totally agree. Especially, I mean, dude, when I was playing Fortnite back in the day a lot, even before like it's become what it is now. Like, yeah, I bought a $10 skin because I'm playing it all the time, and I don't mind at all. I even did it with Red Dead 2 online. I played that a lot, and I bought some gold bars or whatever because I was like, yeah, I put freaking 100 hours into this. Why not?
Right.
I'm trying to think. Did you guys find that the maps were pretty good? Me as someone who hasn't played anything, I thought they were fine, but I
think the symbiote one kind of sucks.
Okay.
Everything else is kind of fine. Ben, you mentioned a point about like totally taking from Overwatch. The map design is like 100% like Overwatch maps. So like again, I don't know if it's like are they really stealing? Like at the same time, it's like
well, how are they Overwatch maps?
They just the way the way the payload kind of goes through them. I don't know if Ben, you want to talk to this a little bit more, but like just the way you kind of circumvent through it and the way you spawn and you have to run up to your payload. Like I don't know if many other games actually do what Overwatch does, but Marvel Rivals definitely does.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't a lot of other hero shooters
Right.
that have ever existed, let alone, that we've had something to copy or to look at. But I think that there definitely is inspiration there, if not a straight ripoff. And in my opinion, like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
If it were literally assets that were stolen from Overwatch, that'd be a different story. But just like if you say, okay, well, we're going to design this map in a similar way, and just put a different texture on it, then and make it Marvel themed, then that's kind of okay with me. I mean, we see that there are no other video games that don't do that, right? Like there are very few new things under the sun. Take a look at Call of Duty. Well, guess what? You pretty much exactly copied the gameplay from Medal of Honor that came before you. Now, granted, they've iterated on it since then and everything. You look at some of the big modes in these multiplayer shooters where you've got tons and tons and tons of players. Oh, guess what? Battlefield did that first. Sorry, you can't. Does that just mean nobody else can ever do it?
Right.
So I think if a game copies inspiration from somebody, that's maybe it sucks for those people, but like it also gives them a little bit of a kick in the pants.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Overwatch 2 had the potential to totally change the game and reiterate, and instead they were just like, you know what? We're going to make it so there are only 5 players, and sometimes it's dark on your maps. That's Overwatch 2. You're welcome.
I remember when Overwatch 2 came out, and I was like, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm excited to review this. We didn't really review we weren't podcasting when Overwatch 1 came out, but I was like, oh yeah, like this will be a cool to review. And then like we got like 2 months into it, and I'm like, it's the same game. What's there to review?
Yeah, I remember you being pretty disappointed.
Like, what's there to talk about? We're reviewing a game from 2016, and like, that was kind of my biggest issue with Overwatch 2. It's like, what did you guys really do here? Why slap a 2? You canceled all your 2 content.
And then coming from me as like a new player, like, I had zero interest. Like, there was nothing about Overwatch 2 where I was like, maybe I'll hop in. You know what I mean? Whereas like this, it has the Marvel theme. The designs were amazing. The maps looked great and everything looked awesome, design wise. So I'm like, I'm in. And I guess to get back to like your like copying point, and Ben, I mean, you were saying this, I totally agree. Like it's not, I guess it's like Battlefield didn't copy Call of Duty or something. Like that's the type of game it is. It's a first person military shooter.
This is a third person. Respawn didn't copy Fortnite's Battle Royale map just because it's like laid out the same.
Absolutely.
But like I hear people being like, I guess like that wasn't my opinion when I said, they kind of like Fortnite maps or Overwatch maps. It just kind of is a fact.
Absolutely.
And then like people are talking about it, and I haven't heard anyone say that like, oh, Marvel Rival NetEase is totally copying off.
For sure.
Overwatch. Not in a malicious sense, more like a matter of fact.
Right. And again,
I think that's what this is, just it happens to be a matter of fact.
If you were to tell me, if somebody from NetEase were to come to me and be like, hey, did you know that nobody who worked on this game ever played Overwatch? I would just not believe them, right? Like, obviously, there's a lot of inspiration here.
100%.
But I don't know. I don't know why people expect there not to be. Have you ever... Granted, I love new concepts and new everything. Like I'm a big movie buff, but like, have you ever watched a movie that didn't have a very similar plot to another movie you watched years ago? Like everything takes inspiration from everything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what this conversation is. It's just they're inspired and but like also I love when Blizzard gets their fucking comeuppance and somebody like really gives it to them. I mean, I don't know what Blizzard games besides Overwatch you play, Ben, but like
all of them.
I used to play WoW. I quit WoW and I had like a Blizzard hate boner for years. But like there's a reason I never went back to WoW. And even though Classic has its appeal for me, there's a reason I don't go back. There's a reason I quit. There's a reason I didn't pick up Diablo 4. There's a reason when I played Diablo 3 a few years ago, I understood why my friends in high school talked me out of getting Diablo 3 back then. Like Blizzard, they have this. We're ranting about Blizzard when we're not even talking about them, but it's relevant. True. I think this is where it's relevant. It is relevant. But yeah, like they have the money and I think they have the ability, but they always fall flat. And I think Marvel Rivals is an example of somebody cashing in on something Blizzard made, and like we can do this better, and it looks better. The character designs are so much cooler and a little edgier. Like me and Ben were playing, and I was
There's
like
tits
looking
and
at
ass. No, like yeah.
I was looking at the Overwatch characters. I'm like, they really look kind of bland now for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think that when it first came out, but yeah, or maybe Rivals is just like, I like that better.
Well, and it just felt like Overwatch was just, I mean, and we saw Sony try to take advantage of this too with Concord. Obviously, it didn't work.
True.
But like
I would not brought that up.
There was like an open field for someone else to come in here and take over the hero shooter space. Because I mean, Overwatch 2, as we have been stating, was a monumental failure, and everyone who even didn't know Overwatch really knew that. So like, there was blood in the water in the
a critical failure. That game is still printing money.
Dude, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. And like, that's why, like, when you look at Sony, it's like, well, why would they want to do Concord? It's like, well, obviously they need multiplayer stuff. And it's like, yeah, the hero shooter market can be big if you hit it well. And I think Marvel Rivals, prove that. And it, when you have a wide open field like that, someone's going to jump in and eat your lunch. That's just how it's going to go. Especially when you're at Blizzard.
I think Blizzard, like I've been playing Blizzard games since the Lost Vikings back in the early 90s.
Wow.
And I've jumped in and out of everything. I used to be hardcore in StarCraft, and I've played Diablo 1 through 4. And but at the same time, it's like I just really want people to have competition.
100%.
I certainly don't think Blizzard's a perfect company.
No.
But I think that they are only ever going to be a better company if they have somebody pushing them to do more, to have to keep up, to be better.
Yeah, and I speaking to that point, that's why they started WoW Classic, because private servers were doing. So what WoW Classic is basically, imagine playing World of Warcraft like it was in 2004,
like the initial release, almost.
Right? Or playing the Burning Crusade expansion, that initial. So it's basically like member berries.
I see.
It's essentially what they're capitalizing on, and that experience, and how it is a lot different from retail.
Sure.
People were making private servers, which are illegal. And kind of, I don't really know the process of that, but like essentially like creating their own servers of the game during that time frame, and people were playing
this
them.
was before WoW Classic, you're saying?
Yes, and Blizzard shut them down, and at first they were like, you don't want WoW Classic. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. And then they end up making it, shutting down the, the private servers, and then just doing it their own. But there are still private servers, and they don't do everything, I think, exactly the way people want it, but you can't appease everybody. But
it is funny though, with both with both WoW Classic, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is great, I love WoW Classic," but there are many more people who are like, "Oh yeah, this kind of sucked. Like it's way better now." The same thing they just did Overwatch Classic, which I think it's wrapping up soon. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is fun. It's 6v6 again. The kills are more satisfying because whatever."
Yeah.
But at the same time, so many people are like, "Oh, like maybe the 5v5 versus 5v6 thing people are still split on."
Really? Okay.
But the actual gameplay and some of the stuff, they're like, "Oh, these Reinhardt's way better with 2 fire strikes than he was with 1." Like just things like that people don't. Like, you remember the good old days.
You have nostalgia
until they're back.
So it's more than the 6v6 5v5. They actually took them back to like their original iterations. The characters.
Yeah, and they're like the heroes that weren't there at the beginning aren't there still. And,
That's interesting.
That is wild.
But still, that is so funny that they did that. It's like weird that like what other games besides Blizzard games have like done anything like that? Like I know Fortnite and Apex, like, oh, let's go back to the original map. It's kind of different. They're not like, we're going back to the original like set of champions with their original
that is an interesting
build.
point.
It's like they're not doing that. They're just like, okay, here's the map.
Well, I mean, how many other games have been around for long enough to have a classic mode, right?
Sure,
that's a very good point. Yeah,
fair point.
Yeah, and even just getting back to really quick, that competition element, I do think is really key, because just like you need that shit. And just like as a quick sidebar, it does make me sad, like to see Xbox just kind of almost giving up on their consoles, and to see PlayStation just kind of almost wholeheartedly take that over. Because, dude, you need competition in all these spaces, and hopefully this makes Overwatch 2 or like maybe get their shit together. I'm doubtful, especially after everything that's happened.
I mean, Blizzard's been having to get their shit together for like maybe 15 years.
Well,
from a lot of different avenues.
Yeah. Interesting.
But to bring it back to Rivals, a part we didn't talk about, there are a few different game modes in the game: quick play, competitive, and then the arcade, which is just Conquest, which is team deathmatch. Ben, have you played Conquest? I did. I played one match.
Okay, I played, I don't know, more than 5, less than 10, somewhere in there.
I didn't like it.
It was all in like one night.
I didn't like it.
It's not great in my opinion, but it is a really good spot to go into, and like you have the ability to do the practice with AI, where your whole team is real people and the other team is AI.
Yeah,
you have that ability.
Yeah,
you have the
that.
practice range. But if you just want to go in and DPS and not worry about strategy, then guess what? That's the mode for you right there.
Right.
Okay.
You just want to kill people.
Yeah. So what is the objective of that?
Deathmatch. It's
just deathmatch. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a deathmatch, but you have to collect tokens.
It's like
it's like
kill confirmed. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like kill confirmed from COD.
I do think they have some more modes coming. There's been a lot of leaks and stuff. I don't think they've officially announced anything, but they have some more modes coming.
Lots of characters too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting 4 characters in the next battle pass. We're recording this right at the end of season 0, so this is kind of a review for that. I mean, it's a perpetually changing game, but it's crazy to think that Rivals NetEase is putting out 4 characters in one battle pass when that's Overwatch's 2's count for the year.
That's insanity.
That's wild. I mean, I know we're still like at release. They've probably been cooking these guys,
of course,
since before the game came out. But
right,
still, like Overwatch never did that.
Right. And just to clarify,
yeah,
it's not just in the battle pass. They're just in the season. They're free.
That's okay. So that was going to be my question.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point.
Not like Apex, where they come out with a new character and you got to buy it to be able to play
it.
Which I could go into my issues with Apex, but that's the biggest problem with Apex is that like if there's a new character, if you want to play it, you got to buy them.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you can earn that currency in the game, but it takes you a million years.
You know what's funny? I played Apex for years, and I never had an issue with that because I always had the currency.
And like if you fall behind, I did one year, and you're fucked. Like,
No, Ben's right. It takes forever, but I stopped playing Apex recently. I was just like, you know what? I've been playing this game long enough. I don't like the FOMO content, which Rivals doesn't do. The pass is always going to be available. True. Yet at launch, it's like if the next pass comes out, hey, you still have access. You probably have to buy it.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about the Halo Infinite doing that because I'm like, I'm tired of the FOMO shit. Just let me play and I can do whatever I want. Like I don't want to be penalized for not playing the game.
Right.
And that's great with Rivals that so far I am not being penalized for not playing the game. And even the battle pass is pretty easy to finish. Once you get into it.
It's funny. I'm of two minds with the FOMO stuff because like when I played Red Dead 2 online for a long time. Gooch knows I was like in it.
Yeah, Trio. I don't know anyone else who's played.
I have like 60
RDO.
grand and 100 gold bars. Like there's no. I can't do anything with it. So it's just sitting there. And
does it still exist?
It does. It's still going. It's still.
Oh,
going.
they just quit developing.
Yeah, they just aren't releasing new stuff with it and stuff like that. But and now I just completely forgot where my point was going. What were we talking about?
You were bringing FOMO.
Oh
content?
yeah, FOMO. Yeah, so there were some things that like there were battle passes like you could unlock Arthur's getup or like Dutch's costume or things like that. And then once they stopped doing, and you could only get it in the battle pass, and it was only timed. But then after a while they just released it to purchase a la carte, which I do think. The 75% of me is like, that's great. Yes, you should be able to have access to that.
Right.
You should be able to get it.
Right.
But I kind of did like having this thing that showed I was there at a specific point in time. You know what I mean? And like kind of showed off that fact. And like that I was like, I played this when it launched. I have Arthur's hat because you could only play it at that time to get it. But I do digress the fact of, I would err on the side of let everyone have everything because that is the most fair and fun.
Yeah. It is. I'm with you though. I like the time limited stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Because it gives you something to like. I don't know. I don't like the FOMO stuff, but I think they just did in Rivals. They just did this thing with Jeff's Winter Wonderland or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I hate that character, but whatever. That's beside the point. And you had to play within these like 10 days and had to play enough to unlock this outfit.
Yeah.
Now, will that be available again in the future? Most likely, because it's a very popular character. But the fact that like if in 3 or 4 months you have that and people are like, where can I get that? It's like, oh, sorry, you could only get it then.
Right.
The battle pass thing, I kind of feel like I'm more okay with. I'm more okay with events being limited time and never coming back
Sure.
than I am with battle passes, because battle passes, if I pay $10 for this battle pass, I expect that maybe I have to work for it, but that I can get everything from it.
Right.
Right. At any
Call of
time.
Duty-
At any time.
Yeah, at any time. Because a battle pass is something you can pay for. So in my opinion, it shouldn't be limited to how much you're also playing.
No, that's
But
a
as
good point.
But events, you got to be there for the event to get that skin or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a give and take. Like, I can agree with you, but I also think it's like it shouldn't be everything. It should just be some things.
I think the event point is a great idea, because you're not paying for that event. It's just happening,
Right.
and you can be there to unlock it. Whereas you're buying this battle pass, I want to be able to earn everything I purchased in it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I did like the events. That Jeff game mode was kind of like Splatoon, and I think it's fun to kind of do those things. And I know, so we only have seen one, so we don't really know what they're going to be like in the future, especially a year down the road, where it's like, you know, are they going to do PvE modes like Overwatch did? Like, what kind of fun little gimmicky modes are they going to do in the future? But I think their first foray was a pretty good one. I'm curious if they had Jeff planned, because Jeff is the meme of this game, or they kind of put this together sort of quickly. I kind of doubt that. I think it just happened to be coincidental that it was like,
I would imagine they had it planned.
Right. Yeah. But the fact that it was Jeff around the meme character, I think also helped them.
Yeah, and
phenomenally.
I'm sure they had like a little inkling of like how popular he was going to be, like within testing and stuff like that. But no, that's a good point. I think it is just kind of a bit of a happy accident. And all the memes have been really great out of this, I gotta say. Even just some of the videos and things like that, people fucking around with people as Doctor Strange, like the Portal stuff, of course. It's been a lot of fun. I definitely need to play more. Ben, I tell Gooch this all the time. I mean, he knows. I just, multiplayer games fall to the back burner for me a lot, very easily. So I just need to make time and actually get on and play a little bit more. I definitely want to hop on and play with you guys.
Yeah, I put about 60 hours into it. I think you have more than me, Ben. You're definitely you're like 10 levels higher than I am.
Let me look at Steam.
Yeah.
A little over 80 hours.
Okay. Not too bad.
Yeah,
but
if I weren't playing so much Overwatch 2 with the boys every night, then I'd be playing more Rivals. But
you're still playing Overwatch 2? Like, even now?
I quit playing Overwatch for like years.
Yeah.
And now I've got, Lockmort and Brad and my buddy Justin. We play pretty much every night for at least like an hour or two.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Now, so,
I wish I had friends who would commit to multiplayer games to play like that with me. What a
I don't know
concept.
what you're talking about.
I have friends who will commit to me playing their game with them, but nobody wants to play the games I want to play. So if I want to play with my friends, I play the games they want to play.
I hear you.
You did just say the Gooch conundrum out loud as well. Yeah, I feel like that is what you run into.
I was like, everyone's like, come play Call of Duty. It's like, well, no one wants to fucking play the game.
I remember there was a game you asked me recently. You were like, you want to go through and do the achievements on this with me?
The Red Dead 1 online, which
like,
I'm so glad you didn't commit to that.
I don't actually, because it's the commitment. Because I know it's gonna be, not just gonna be a night of playing. It's gonna be are we hopping on tonight? What's going on?
Right? Yeah, we going for achievements, man. I'm
right.
I got a list prepared. What do you think about comp, Ben? It's sweaty. I think we can both agree with that. But yeah, what do you think?
So I saw a distribution chart recently of where everybody's ranked, and
I saw that
as far as and it's really interesting because until you get out of bronze, you're playing with just anybody. You're a 9-year-old on his dad's computer, all the way up to everybody professional. But once you in bronze, it's really tough because nobody's talking on mics, nobody's working together, nobody's picking heroes strategically. They're just going for kills. It's really tough. But once you get out of bronze, if you can get yourself out of bronze, solo queuing especially, then it starts to get more interesting and more dynamic, where you have people starting to actually want to strategize. More people on the mics at the higher levels, which I guess is to be expected.
That's cool. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, more commitment.
I was a little bit mixed on it at first. I really wish, part of me wishes at the beginning there had been you do however many, kind of like Overwatch does, where you do 10 qualifying games and then it ranks you after that. But it doesn't. It basically, everybody starts at the bottom of bronze and has to work all the way up. And, once you get into those higher ranks, then maybe your matches are a little slower, and your competition's a little bit tougher. But generally, you're playing with other characters who are either really decent at the game or they are just playing the most broken characters, which you see a lot of those broken characters at the higher ranks. And I say broken. I don't know if they're actually broken, but they feel broken when you're dying to headshots from
Iron
Hawkeye
Fist,
every other.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So you mean broken is in there just so overpowered?
Right. Yeah.
Correct.
OP,
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see they announced like Hela and somebody else, Hela and maybe Iron Fist are getting nerfed?
Oh, interesting.
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, I saw somebody post like the way the season's breaking out and like they're adjusting like I think Wolverine, but like Hela and I think it was Iron Fist. I put it in our Discord if you're in general gaming.
I'll check it now.
Or I can look at it too. Yeah, that they were like making like adjustments. I was like, well, we all know what that means. Hela and Hawkeye adjustments, Storm, Wolverine, and Cloak and Dagger adjustments, Captain America and Venom movement improvement.
Yeah, Venom does feel like, and I get it, they're tanks, they're probably supposed to feel kind of slow, but I do remember picking up Venom the first time and I'm just like, I am moving at a fucking snail's pace.
Yeah, but you're
Try
playing
playing
tank.
Groot.
That's what I was gonna say. They are
Yeah.
tanks, so
Yeah,
Try playing Groot. a little bit.
oh yeah, I actually haven't.
Groot's really
He's
slow.
really slow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but to go back to the comp thing, it's funny. I had the best experience with comp just before recording this podcast. As I finished meal prep, I came down, so it's like 11:30, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna play comp until I have to get ready to get set up. And it was probably my best session of comp ever. I'm in bronze 1 now, but like, yeah, I was just getting like some matches are really good, and I feel like the game is really competitive, and like we're neck and neck, and it doesn't feel like we're getting totally smoked or we're totally dominating.
Right.
But then there are some games where we're just getting totally smoked, and I'm just like, fuck this shit, man. It's like Overwatch comp flashbacks where I'm just stuck in like silver and I can't get out, and I'm like, am I stuck in bronze again and I can't get out? But I guess that's just like par for the course, right? You can't really like knock the game for the sweatiness of this shit.
It is to some extent for sure. But the one thing I don't know, this isn't in contradiction to your point. This is just another point entirely.
Sure.
The one thing I don't know is I don't know when they start kicking in the group makeups, because I know that there are in Overwatch
the ban.
No, not that. That's higher up. But so in Overwatch, if I'm a solo queuer, I generally either queue with like. Well, let me say this: if I'm a triple stack, I've got 3 out of my 5 players in my group, the people I know, whatever. And then I've got 2 other random players. They may be stacked together. They may be both solos, whatever. Overwatch tries to pair you with somebody else who's a 3 and a 2 or a 3 and a 1 and a 1. I don't know if Rivals is doing that yet, because there are sometimes when I'm playing, when I'm like, it is very obvious the other team I'm against has played together a lot. And right now, my team, I haven't played with these guys before.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So I don't know if they do that. If they don't, I wish they would. If they do, it doesn't seem to be working.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because they're definitely not telling you, like in the UI, who's grouped up.
So
exactly.
Okay, so the idea is optimally it would put teams of 5 against teams of 5 and teams of 3 and 2 versus teams of 3 and 2 group.
Because if you have a team of 5, you can assume they generally play together,
right?
Or
Right,
at least
and they
have played together before.
Sure. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Interesting. Not
So
even
it's gonna
something
be
I would have thought about.
It's going to be stiffer competition. They're going to know how to work together. They're going to know that, when I do my ultimate, you should do your ultimate, that kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas if you're just with a bunch of solos, and chances are you're not talking to each other, because people don't talk, even though everybody has a microphone. Like you hear them clicking, but then you talk to them and they don't respond. It's like, come on, bro. But yeah, so I would be curious to know what that actually is like. And maybe it's out there somewhere and they've announced it and I just haven't heard it. But that would be interesting to know. And then the other thing with comp is just that I like and I don't like the way that once you get into the higher ranks, which is probably, like the Eternity and whatever, the ones I'll probably never get to.
Yeah.
They make it so that if you don't play for a certain amount of time, you lose rank.
So there's a decay.
Rank
thing.
decay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that because it allows other people to get into the top 500 or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, well, what if something happens and I can't play for a week or 2?
Yeah,
Am I going to lose rank just because I couldn't play?
Because you're just physically unable to, or something.
We're
something like
penalizing
that.
you because your mammy died.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Or you were in a terrible
mammy
accident
died.
of some kind. I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
not
like
my fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying that as I got into gold and I just quit playing comp so that I could make sure I got the skin that you get for getting into gold. because there's only a few days left till the season's over, and I'm like, I'm not risking it.
That's my goal with comp.
What's the skin yet?
It's like a gold
skin.
Moon Knight
Oh,
skin.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I did log on today, and I saw the one. It was like some type of like samurai inspired.
Yeah,
Moon Knight one.
Squirrel Girl
That's one you have to
and
buy.
Iron
Yeah,
Fist
it was not a
got
fan.
the
I gotta
Lunar
say,
New
I was like, he
Year
doesn't even look
skins.
like Moon Knight. What's going on here? Like, I would.
It's Moon Knight, not Iron Fist, but yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry,
okay,
Moon Knight.
okay,
Yeah,
it is Moon Knight.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, yeah, they're gonna have fun with it. They're
I
gonna
know.
get it zany.
I know.
Yeah. I have two more things, and then we can definitely wind down. We didn't talk about like the team up abilities, which I think is a huge sort of improvement, and not only comp but like team play in general, where you can like synergize more than just like, I don't know, oh, like our ults work good together, let's do them at the same time.
Sure.
You know, I've been playing a lot of Namor. Because my girlfriend plays Luna Snow and they have that team up ability. Namor with that second ice squid is like OP. It like changes him totally. And so when I play comp, I always do Namor and I wait for a Luna Snow to get picked. And if it doesn't, I'll usually go support because of that. But because I'm like, yeah, I feel like Namor is like very depowered because he doesn't have that team up ability. So I really just like how like those team up abilities change gameplay and can change a team comp or synergy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some really not great team up abilities, but for the most part, I think that's what's differentiating this game from Overwatch or other hero shooters is that you immediately have the UI telling you exactly what will happen if you pick these other characters. That's also something in comp that in the lower ranks I noticed that nobody cared about that, and in the higher ranks everybody's like, dude, somebody's got to do a team up. Like, we've got to have a team up because they know how much more that brings to the team.
Right.
But like, you have some that are actually insanely overpowered. Like, for instance, if you have Hela and Thor, and Hela gets a kill, she can res Thor. Like, she's not even a support character.
Yeah,
that's actually why.
And you just gotta take a second to fucking read it,
right?
You know,
No,
and
true.
understand.
I was using the
Adam.
The Adam Warlock one with the Guardians is really good too, and Mantis.
Yeah, the res.
Yeah, the res one. Yeah.
Right. But Adam Warlock reses naturally. Hela doesn't have any support abilities.
No, it's true.
She just shoots.
Yeah,
That is
and just
wild.
because you decided to do Thor and Hela, you have a support. Like, again, it may not be a game changer, but it could sway a fight.
I was gonna say, yeah, it could
Bringing
be a
your
moment.
tank back to life, that would definitely be a game changer. I
Yeah,
think.
no, that's
Yeah,
pretty well.
maybe.
That
I'm
could be
downplaying
clutch
it a
for
little bit.
sure. So nothing like that exists in Overwatch.
No,
Interesting.
No.
I bet it will though.
Wouldn't surprise me if they did something like that in the future.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They
But
gotta be
I
thinking
agree.
about it.
The team up abilities are definitely a very overlooked part of the game, in my opinion. I agree with that for sure.
All right, guys. Anything else?
Yes, we have to talk
there's
about
one-
my PC issues.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I would actually be like we're re-recording the entire podcast if I forgot about the talk about
right,
this.
get-
But I want
I
to start
didn't
with
hear
you
about
because
this.
you're on console and you're on Xbox. How's it running over there?
I had no issues. It runs very smoothly. Just playing on the controller works pretty well with the controller. Nothing abnormal to report, I gotta say. Like, technical wise. Like,
Good.
yeah.
Is it 60 FPS on console?
It feels it. I don't know if
Yeah,
it
I
is.
think it is.
Yeah, I feel like it is. Yeah.
Ben, you're on PC. I assume on mouse and keyboard.
Yes.
How has your experience been?
Flawless, I would
wow.
say. 120 plus all the time. Looks fantastic. I have everything on the highest settings. Graphical fidelity, phenomenal. It uses very little of my system resources. Now, granted, I have a pretty beefy computer.
Sure.
But
Sure.
at the same
That's good to
time,
know.
like, yeah. I've talked to a buddy of mine who has like a 10 series card and probably not much better of anything else. And he says it runs well for him on lower visual settings, of course, and he's running it in 1080, but he says it's great. But Gooch, I know that yours is not.
Dude.
Now
Works
we got
fine
to
on
what
my
we really
PC. Works fine on my PC, Gooch.
Dude. Okay. So everything was fine. The game optimized me at medium. So let's talk about like the first week or two before that Jeff event, because that's when the Fire Nation attacked. So launch goes good. Everything's running fine. Like, I get into the game. I don't mess with anything. I'm having no frame drops, no issues. Everything's running good.
Right as rain.
And then a few days later, I'm like, oh, like, what are my graphics even on? This game looks great. Oh, I'm only on like medium. Jumped it up to high. No issues. Nothing. No problems. Then we get to this Jeff update, and all of a sudden, my game is a slideshow. freezing everywhere randomly. Sometimes my game like today, I had issues with my first game. I had a lot of lag and freezing and weird shit going on. And then after the first game, I was all good. No problem. But for some reason, that update, like my game just decides to turn into a slideshow and go from 60 to 0 to like back up and down, and I don't know what's going on. And it's
Did you check your drivers?
Yeah,
I don't know anything about computers, but yeah.
I checked my fucking drivers. The first thing I did was update my drivers. But yeah, it just seemed like, so this led me into an investigation of like, okay, like what could it be? And it just seems to be Marvel Rivals is just terribly optimized.
Interesting.
And there is no fix to my problem.
But this seems to be like something that a lot of people are experiencing?
Yes.
Okay.
Once I started digging into it, it seems like a lot of people are having a lot of unexplainable weird issues. It's like a lot of people with beefy computers are saying like they have strange issues that crop up with frames and stuff. And it's like, again, looking and tweaking settings seems to fix it, but like nothing seems to fix it permanently, and that's the problem I'm having. And again, I don't have the beefiest computer, but I don't think it's a piece of shit. I have an i7. My RAM count is low. I have 16 gigs of RAM, which I'm looking at my task manager thing and everything's maxed out. Or the RAM is like almost maxed out. But I have
but
like
16 should still be fine for this.
Yeah, exactly. It was fine 2 weeks ago.
So then that tells me it's something in the update, right?
Something they did, and they did say that they are fixing. They have noted what's going on. What were you about to say, Ben?
Well, I wanted to say, I believe you that you're having the issues, obviously. That's not a thing.
I personally don't. But
now, you are the only person I've heard saying that. But
okay.
Your timeline, now I haven't looked into it because I haven't been having the issues. So, of course, I haven't looked into it. But your timeline seems weird to me because that Jeff update did not have a download. All they did was flip a switch to turn. It was in the game before. I am positive. It was 0 downtime update. There were no additional downloads.
I knew he was a liar.
The last actual update you had to download was December 10th, which was 4 days after the game came out. So they may have flipped a switch that changed something, but according to their patch note log,
well, that's good to know. Because I could have sworn I downloaded something for that, but
maybe you did. Maybe you did, but I don't think there was a download for it. So I don't. Maybe you downloaded the wrong. You have Marvel Rivals. The special version or something. You like got it from some Russian website, maybe.
Maybe. I have the Epic Games version now.
Yeah.
Is it even on Epic Games? I have it on Steam.
It is on Epic Games. Yeah, I think it is on Epic Games, and I think they're doing some collaboration with Fortnite where you get a glider or something like that.
Yeah, they Marvel. I don't know if you play Marvel Snap. Oh no, I think you do. You play Marvel Snap?
I used to. I haven't played it in a long time.
Yeah, they did a Marvel Rivals season for Marvel Snap, so there's been some collaboration across there. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but
right.
Yeah, I just I'm like praying for the next update, and I'm praying whatever it is fixes it, because when we were playing the other night, I was telling you, and I think you had heard that like whatever frame rate issues are going on, it actually affects gameplay. Where like
I did see that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm like
it slows you down in the game, right?
Yeah, so I've experienced like I'm not having latency issues, and when I'm walking, I'm freezing, and then sometimes I'll just be back at spawn. Like I rubber banded or something. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not having latency issues. Why am I back here?
This might sound...
It could be server latency and not you latency, though, too.
Yeah, true. But like, again...
Uninstalling and reinstalling?
I didn't uninstall and reinstall. That's actually one thing I didn't do. I have tried
sounds very basic, but...
everything.
You could do like the verify files and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried like a shit ton of things, and I'm kind of waiting for whatever this next patch is to hopefully fix it. I think it's coming.
It should be within the next couple of days, yeah.
Right, yeah.
No, I could. By the way, I could be wrong about the Jeff event not having an actual file download update, but I'm pretty certain that they said like there'd be no downtime, there'd be no download or anything like that. It was
but
just,
doesn't downtime means hey, we're taking the game offline for 3 hours because we have to do server maintenance? Isn't that what that means?
Yeah, I'm saying they said that in addition to other stuff. Now, I said, it could have been a very small patch. I didn't even notice Steam updating or something like that. Maybe.
Okay.
Who knows?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The game is pretty small, by the way. For console, how big is it?
I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Really? You check that shit all the time.
I mean, sure, but like I don't remember. It's not. I don't mark it down. Oh, it's Marvel Rivals.
46 gigs.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, Indiana Jones is like 140.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, wow, okay, nice.
I mean, I guess it makes so it's maps and it's characters, and I know like the big thing for like Call of Duty, I think, is like the text packages, right? That's why that's so large.
The big thing for Call of Duty is they're dumb. And
I got it.
I love Call of Duty. I've loved Call of Duty for years. I play almost every year.
Sure.
I just don't understand how their game is so
Is that
massive.
large? Yeah. Well,
I think it's all the skins and all the skins for every gun and all the skins for every character and all this, like all that stuff. But I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I think it was Jedi Survivor was like 135 gigabytes or something, and I'm like, what is in this game that's causing this to be that? I don't know. Maybe it must be the Force.
It's the Force.
But I don't know, man. I need to get a solid state. I think I need to get an expansion because I'm uninstalling and reinstalling much more than usual. And yeah, because I downloaded Call of Duty to play with my friends, and yeah, that's 100 and whatever gigabytes. I do like how you can separate pieces out of that, like, and you don't have to download the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. Freaking console size.
But let's give some final thoughts. Ben, why don't you start it with us? Is Marvel Rivals your game of the year? What's your consensus here?
I think when I don't really do ranking stuff, but when I was on Summon Sign,
we don't either. We don't do like numbers. Yeah.
But I think I did put it in my top 10, probably near the bottom, just because it wasn't around. But yeah, it's such a good game. I love the fact that it's a hero shooter, but it's in third person. I didn't know that I was going to like that at the beginning. In addition to all the other great stuff we've talked about with this game, some of the strategies coming out, some of the more collaboration. Like at first, this game just felt like everybody was running around shooting. Of course, it was the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And now that there's been a month of playtime, pretty much, there's definitely a lot more cohesion, a lot more strategy coming out. It feels much better to play because people know what they're doing a little bit more. And I'm loving the fact that like there's just these little things. And I know Overwatch has some of this stuff to some extent, but like, it was Marvel Rivals, like just their replay system, even down to something that most people will not use. Their replay system is just phenomenal. Yeah. All the different achievements and stuff and menus you can get are just really cool because then it encourages you to explore the maps and encourages you to explore playing different characters and stuff like that. So I'm having a ton of fun with it. It doesn't hurt that it's Marvel and I love the IP already.
Sure.
So it's been great. I just wish more of my friends who want to play frequently would play the game with me. That's the only real problem I have with the game, and it's not at all.
Ben, maybe we just have bad friends. You ever think about that?
Listen, we try our hardest, okay? What do you want? What do you want from us, okay?
I think about it pretty much every day. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But who is going to play Skyrim if I'm playing Marvel Rivals for the 10th time, mind you? Okay. But yeah, awesome, guys. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I got to say, I really did enjoy it a lot for someone who has not played any, hero shooters like I've stated 15 times. I think all the characters are very cool. It's an amazing roster of characters. It has Iron Man to Luna Snow, who I don't fucking even know
she's
existed.
from a mobile game,
apparently. The world design's amazing. Every character is stylish and cool. I will definitely be playing this for a while to come. I can't recommend it enough.
Ben, since you probably don't know this, we do we do our Game of the Year podcast, and we're gonna get to that at the end of the month. That being said, Marvel Rivals is definitely one of my games of the year for sure.
That's awesome.
I think this game again. I don't play a ton of multiplayer games. I don't dip in and out of stuff very often. That's not how I play games at all. It's usually I get it and I commit. Like
it's a new marriage.
Yeah. It's a relationship, right? Like when I download that, I put a ring on it. So jumping into this, I was very committed to being like, all right, I'm gonna play this game, and it's great, and I have no sort of regrets of anything. I have a few nitpicks here and there, but it really isn't about the core game.
Right.
The game is incredible. It plays awesome. Yeah, I'm having some PC issues, but I can't really, say the game's bad because I'm having some PC issues. I think it will be ironed out. It kind of makes sense to me that the game would be weirdly optimized in everyone's systems. Obviously everyone has kind of different systems, and, I think that might be, like, I thought about it. It's like, this isn't Blizzard, so I guess I can be a bit forgiving about that, but...
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel Rivals, it's incredible, man. I hope we're still playing it 4 years from now, and it's not, obviously it's not going to be a Fortnite, but that it's still kicking a year from now, and it says like, yeah, Marvel Rivals has gotten even better. Look at all the great heroes that have come out, and still balanced, and we have 50 now, and I think that the train has definitely taken off from the station at a nice 90 miles per hour for train isn't fast. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. The train's fucking going. I hope
left
it doesn't
the station.
stop.
Yeah,
it has left the station at a very fast pace.
There you go. I love it. Awesome.
But before we outro, Ben, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people find you? What are you up to?
Probably the best place is on Twitter, Ben Smith 2588.
Awesome.
I'll tell you about everything there.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll have all that down in the links below too, so anyone can click on that stuff. Thank you all so much for watching with us. We really appreciate your time. You can always watch these on twitch.tv/Delco Network live. Well, not always, usually. You can also find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Network on your service of choice. We have a Discord page or a Facebook page, a Discord channel. All that good stuff will be linked down below. We are at Delco Nerds on basically everything with an @ All this information is at our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to Delco Nerd Network or DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Ben, for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.
Nerf Jeff.